Welcome to the Chaos Commanders podcast. I'm Annie, aka Commander A, military wife, mom of two, and seasoned in navigating deployments, juggling schedules, and life's unpredictable missions.
And I'm Katelynn, aka Commander K, solo mom to a busy, neurodivergent teenage boy, business owner, and skilled chaos wrangler.
We're here for the moms who do it all, the sideline CEOs, the late night warriors, the women leading in their homes, businesses, and beyond.
If you've ever felt like you're running a tactical operation just to get through the day, this is the place for you. We're bringing raw, unfiltered conversations, honest insights, and tangible strategies to help you command the chaos like the Wonder Woman you are.
So grab your coffee, wine, or whatever keeps you going, because we're diving in. Welcome back to the Chaos Commanders podcast. Today we are going to get a little deep and a little raw. We are talking about the ups and downs of unemployment. I was recently laid off at the end of January, and Katelynn has also been laid off in the state of Iowa. So yeah, that was just another thing that we have in common with each other. The process has, of course, changed since she's been laid off and now I've been laid off. There's a 5-year difference between that?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're just going to talk about, if you've never been laid off, you're going to get an education today. If you have been laid off, maybe you can relate to some of the things that we're going to talk about on this episode. But first, what's our song?
What is our song? So Annie found an awesome one. I don't think either of us had ever heard it before.
I've never heard it.
Yeah. So reminder for everyone out there, our playlist is quite eclectic. You may not want to exercise to it, as Annie was
probably
just
not. Maybe road trip to it.
Yes, but we really liked this one. So it is called Unemployment by J.J. Cole. And it has a fun little beat to it and was definitely appropriate for this episode. So
for sure.
Enjoy. So Annie, do you want to start off with talking about self-worth when it comes to both getting laid off and then also maybe just the process of unemployment, right? And having to go through all of that. I remember one of the first things that you said to me was that you felt like you were worth more to your family dead than you were alive, which shocking to hear that and probably to feel that, right?
Right. Well, of course it's alarming to hear, right? And I never would do anything like that. But you think you kind of hit rock bottom, even though I knew it was coming. I knew last November that it was coming. I didn't know when in January, but I had a couple of months to figure it out. And we're living apart. My husband and I are living apart. And that's a huge financial burden for us, one that we were very willing to make. But all those things start running through your head, right? Like we've got all these bills to pay. And I think most families, anybody who's laid off, right? Like you work for a reason, you have bills to pay. So yeah, those were some really hard thoughts that came into my head on top of like trying to play it cool because my kids needed their mom to be cool. So yes, that was tough. And Andre and I had a lot of conversations about just that in general and like, what's our plan? What are we going to do next? So of course, right after that, I filed for unemployment, which it is not the walk in the park that you might think that it is.
Yeah, and not at all.
Talking to you, I think it's significantly changed. When were you laid off?
So I've done that process twice. I was laid off in 2021, but thinking back on it, that's not when I had to file for unemployment because I actually ended up starting my business at that point in time. So I can't remember when I actually had to do unemployment, but it may have actually even been earlier than that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a long time since I had to do unemployment, but it's definitely changed because you have had to do a lot more of the classes that I know you're about to talk about.
Yes.
I think I had to do like maybe 2 of them or something, and then a couple of phone calls maybe. And so yeah, dive into like what all they've required of you.
Yeah. So I immediately did my paperwork online, and then about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks later, I was required to take a class on how to use the unemployment website, which was not really helpful at that time because I already needed to be using it. So right now in the state of Iowa, you have to at least apply for 3 jobs every week, 4 jobs if you don't have another unemployment activity, which is a class, an interview, a phone call with unemployment. So like, thank goodness I dove deep into what the requirements were, but then I was required to take this class 2 weeks too late. So yes, I pretty much have to take a mandatory class once a week or have a phone call. And I get it, like they want to keep you on track, but you don't really have a choice in what they assign you, and you don't really have a choice when they assign it. The best thing is when it gets assigned to you from the person that you have the phone call with, because at the very beginning it was just automatically assigned to me and it was just in stone. That was it. I did have a doctor's appointment for one of those first classes after the one teaching me how to use the website. And I asked them what I do, and they were like, well, if you can't do it on a Zoom call from your phone, you're going to have to come into the office and watch the video in the office. And I was like, guess I'm rescheduling that doctor's appointment because that sounds like that the office is not close to where I live. So that was very interesting. And you almost feel like a toddler. It's a little, for me, it was a little bit degrading. I'm getting more and more used to it now. I know that once a week I'm going to have a class. When is that class going to be? It's getting a little easier now just because I'm halfway through and I've learned to get these things scheduled with a body on the phone. So then you can pick and choose what you're doing. So as soon as I found out I was being laid off back in November, the very first thing I did was I tapped into some resources and I had somebody professionally help me with my resume. And the difference between the resume that I have now and the resume I had prior is that I'm an old lady, right? Like back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, we did resumes that looked really pretty, like pleasing to the eye. Nope. Not anymore. They need to be AI ready because I think at least 70% of the time it is AI going through all of these resumes. It's not a live body anymore.
Right.
And so I had my resume completely redone professionally. And like class number 3 was how to build a resume. For 2 hours.
Which you're like, I totally don't need that.
Right. I was just like, come on. But it's part of it, right? Like that's how you get your unemployment check. So you do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I know you and I had several conversations just like throughout the frustration of it, where we talked about the fact that the department that, for unemployment, they obviously don't know that you had a remote job that was pretty flexible, right? And so you could go to a doctor's appointment if you needed to and things like that. And so it's super frustrating because they expect you to be 100% free to do whatever they want you to do when they want you to do it.
Right.
And so it's like they just assume that they can schedule anything for you at any time. And that's not what your work life was like.
Right. Yeah, I guess I should explain that a little bit, that I had this amazing job that it was basically get your work done.
Yeah.
Get your work done, no questions asked. I was pretty much available during normal work hours, but they all knew that I was solo mama running the ship. And so I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, start my day at 5. I'd stop my day to help my children get ready to go to school. I would start my day again. So my day was chunked. My work day was chunked into pieces.
Right.
And that worked. It worked for everybody. I think in the beginning, my job thought I was absolutely insane for working at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I think at some point they were like, oh, wow, this is nice. Everything's done before we get into the office, and the things that need to be tended to are the first thing in the inbox. Or at least I think they thought that. I can't say for sure. But it worked out really well. And so to lose that and to know that I don't know what I'm going to get into next, that was really hard because we still very much need that flexibility for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my job. And yeah, so I'm a little over halfway through what I'm allotted for unemployment. I still haven't found anything. If anybody has a remote job that they would like me to work for them, let me know.
Yes.
But I feel like now that I know the process, it feels a little bit easier, and I've just come to accept, like, this is the process. Like, I will be in a class or on a phone call every single week until I get that last check. So I've accepted it. I'm good. Everything's fine.
Yes. So yeah, it is a frustrating process. It's several hours in the grand scheme of things. Those classes and the phone call, it can take 3-4 hours out of your week, and that's time that you could be looking for a job, because really they're not helpful.
Right.
The things that you're doing, they're not helpful. But let's talk about, like, applying for jobs, right? Because that's something that you and I have both experienced, where you're applying for all these jobs and
half of them aren't real.
Yeah, a lot of them are
so frustrating.
Yes, like them not being real, and then like using Indeed. I recently showed you the other day how you can go look at the jobs you've applied for, and you can see that, you know, the majority of them
have been looked at.
Yeah, they haven't even been looked at. It says that it just shows applied, but it doesn't even show, like, you'll see when someone has actually looked at your application, it says application viewed, and then it'll tell you if they have rejected it, if applicant was not accepted or something like that.
Right.
And so you and I have both applied for things, because I was recently also looking for a remote job, because I am in the process of relaunching my business while launching this podcast with you, and also looking for W-4 employment.
Right.
Because I'm a huge fan of multiple streams of income. Absolutely. As a single mom. And so while we were both going through that process, we keep hearing, like, remote work is going away, which it
is going away, but remote work existed before COVID.
Exactly.
It was always there. It's just that it was really there during COVID.
Yes. So it is going away for a lot of people. Like, it's going away for certain industries. It's not going to be as prevalent as it was. But remote work going away is a terrible thing for a lot of mothers, a lot of people with maybe disabilities, different things like that. People who need special circumstances.
I was so efficient.
Yes.
Like, because I have to be, right? Like, I'm raising these kids by myself for the most part. So the house has to be tended to. They have to be tended to. Everything has to be taken care of. Plus, I need to work, right?
Yeah.
So I think your best employees are the ones that know how to be efficient.
Yeah.
And I just happen to be incredibly efficient working from home. And I would like to think that my teammates that I worked with felt the same. Well, I do think that they feel the same, that like they knew that they needed something done. Annie was going to get it done, because that's just who I am.
Yeah. And I think that you and I are both people, like, you're a morning person. I'm a night person. So you were willing to work at 5 o'clock in the morning if you had to. And I have had jobs where if I had to be gone for 2 hours for an appointment for my son or something, I was willing to work at midnight if I had to get work done. So we're willing to work hard. It's just that we need the flexibility to do it when it works best for us. And we're both in industries where we can do that. Like, the work doesn't have to be done necessarily at a certain time of day. It's just get the work done. And then
there was never anything that was, it was accounts payable. So there's nothing super urgent ever. And if it was urgent, I was always available.
Yeah.
Or would be available in an hour.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
So,
we're not doing brain surgery here, people.
Right. That's why I didn't take a job in healthcare. Because I couldn't do that from home.
Exactly. So back to, like, the job applications and Indeed and everything. So most of them are not even getting looked at. There are so many people interested in remote work that sometimes it'll show you how many people have applied for that job. And I can remember seeing some of them where it's like 5,000 people have applied for this one specific remote job. Well, of course, what's happening is that sometimes you'll apply for a job, it will have just been listed, and you'll apply for it, and all of a sudden you look at it again and it's like, that job's not even available. Or maybe you save the job on Indeed and you're gonna go apply for it, and then a few hours later you go to actually apply for it and it's not there anymore. And it's because the person's inbox got overwhelmed with all those applications and they just, like, went and shut it down. And so they're not ever even getting to our applications. And so a lot of times it seems like it's better to just go to the website of the company that's hiring and see if you can apply directly on their website. Not every company is going to have that, but just a tip for anyone out there who is applying for remote jobs, that going directly to their website and trying to apply that way, if they do have that capability, you're more likely to get your application seen that way. So hopefully that helps someone out there.
Right. Yep. The ups of unemployment, I would have to say, when I found out that I was going to be laid off, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to start taking better care of myself. I was long overdue for a number of appointments. I needed to get my eyes checked. I needed to get this, that, and the other done. And I just been putting it off because while I had a flexible job, I didn't want to take that time to take care of me. And I think I am speaking to a very large group of specifically mamas who do not take the best care of themselves because we do feel like we have to put everything else first. I encourage you to take care of yourself.
Yes, please do that.
And I know people would be like, Annie, are you taking care of yourself? And I'm like, yeah, of course I am. But I wasn't doing the greatest job of taking care of myself. And I recently had a really scary situation happen where I did some routine testing and mass was found and it had characteristics of cancer, and I ended up having to have a biopsy, and that was really intense. It was benign. Everything was benign. We're good.
Praise the Lord.
But those 2 weeks were really hard. Yeah. And I felt a lot of things, like so much guilt for just not taking better care of myself, that maybe if I would have been doing this routine testing sooner and annually, it wouldn't have quite come to all of those very scary feelings that I was feeling. It just kept escalating in 2 weeks. And then once the biopsy came back, we did a sigh of relief, and I appreciate life. Not that I didn't appreciate life before, but I appreciate it a whole lot more now because cancer was a world that I worked in, and I knew what I was going to be up against if those results were anything but benign. So I take that as a blessing because you saw me for those 2 weeks. I could not focus. Thank God I did not have a job because I probably would have been fired. I could not focus. We were working together trying to figure out podcast stuff, and I just couldn't even think. Like at one point we were just like, this is going to be for another day because his head is not screwed on.
We went, what was that? It was spring break. Annie was feeling guilty for not planning a lot of stuff for spring break, but you had a lot on your mind and everything. And so
Katelynn took the reins and she planned a wonderful spring break for our children.
Well, we did have a lot of yucky weather that week, and so we couldn't do a whole lot, but there was 2 days that we had good weather. And so I was like, okay, we love nature, both of us, and we like hiking and going outside. And so
hiking heals my soul.
Yes. I was like, I think Annie needs to get outdoors. So I planned 2 days for us to just get out. It wasn't anything major, but we were able to get outside a little bit. And my hope was to take her mind off of things a little bit. And it was like one thing after another, right? Yep. Maybe share a little bit about that experience, because it was like we would get through, we're waiting for this appointment, and then we get this appointment, and then it was like, okay, we have another appointment. So if you want to share anything about that, just...
Yeah, so we did the routine testing, and you go into routine testing like, oh, everything's going to be fine. It's great. And it wasn't great. I got called back for more imaging, and then I was like, okay, yay, today's the day. They want to do more imaging. They want to do another test. But today's the day. We're going to find out. They're just like being super cautious. Everything's going to be fine. I feel it in my gut. And then it wasn't.
Yeah.
And the doctor came in, and it's usually not great when a doctor comes in and tells you, we're really concerned and we need to do a biopsy, and we are so concerned that we're going to get you in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying. And again, like working in the field of healthcare that I was working in a number of years ago, like I know what all of this means, and it's usually not great. And in my situation, I think that they were just being as cautious as they could be about everything. But when something looks bad, it looks bad on imaging. Like there's nothing else you can do except to get in there, figure out what's going on. And so I think the buildup of all of that was just, and trusting your gut. Like I had that moment where like, as a mama, you should always listen to your gut. It is almost never wrong.
Right.
And I knew that, but my gut kept saying everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. But then it wasn't okay. And so then I was having a really hard time trusting myself.
Yeah.
And like trusting anything at that point. Like I can't do anything because my gut's not right on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's okay, I'll touch on, you have had some stories happen where you've had people who their family was heading into the husband retiring, which you have shared on your recent episode that you guys are heading into retirement for Andre. And so you have heard stories of husbands retiring and family is all excited about that. And then bam, the wife gets hit with some horrible medical diagnosis. And that was just a huge fear for you. And so I wonder if having those stories in the back of your mind was
absolutely terrifying.
Well, yes, it was terrifying, but I wonder if also it was messing with your gut and just trusting everything, right? Because you wanted to trust your gut, but at the same time, you also had that fear. And then every time you would go to those appointments, it was, you wanted to trust your gut that like it was going to turn out okay. But I wonder if that was also you trying to almost like force things to be right. You know what I mean? Because you were so terrified of what if it's not. Yep. And so that might have skewed things a little bit.
Yeah,
and of course, in the end, it did end up being okay. Like your gut was ultimately right.
I can trust it again.
Yes.
We're friends now.
Yes. It just wasn't right at that moment. It had to take some more steps. Right. So
my mom was so sweet. She was with me. You were on the ride with me too. And my sister was too. My mom, she came with me the day of the biopsy and we sat in the waiting room before it happened. And she's like, I just asked her, I'm like, do you think how is she supposed to know, right? But like, I think every kid that's close with their mom is like, is it going to be okay, Mom? Yeah. So we had that moment and she's like, it's going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. They are being super cautious. You're good.
Yeah.
And she was so confident. And I went back for that biopsy and I actually almost like took a nap through it because I felt pretty at ease at that point. And I have insanely high pain tolerance too. So it was, the biopsy itself wasn't a big deal. It was the waiting for the results that was the hardest part. But I got those results. And the running joke is that my mom's always the last to find everything out. So I immediately called her. She, of course, was at pickleball, of course. So I sent her a text, but then she didn't check her text. She called me back because she saw she missed a call. And I told her, and my mom let out the biggest sigh of relief and got tears. Like I could hear the tears and she's like, oh my gosh, I am so relieved. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mom was so scared.
Yeah.
I had no idea. She was cool as a cucumber through all of that. And that's exactly what I needed. Yeah. So thank you, Mom, for keeping my head attached.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am grateful that I was unemployed through all of that because that was intense. And I would like to think that any employer would be like, hey, take your time with this. But also that means you have to tell your employer what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So I had that freedom of just being able to deal with it. I still applied for all the jobs I needed to apply for that week. So if anybody's from unemployment checking in, I took care of it. I was available to work.
Yes.
I was available.
She was available, but stressed.
But very stressed. Probably nobody would have wanted to hire me those 2 weeks, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, all is good. And we're just plugging along, hoping something happens. As for the future, I don't have anything super promising lined up yet. We're just taking it one day at a time and enjoying life to the fullest because I feel like I was given a second chance to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the other ups I think about unemployment is that it gives you time to reevaluate what you might want to do. It gives you time to just reevaluate your plans. Like while you are looking for jobs, you can explore different career paths. You said you don't have anything lined up yet. And I was just going to remind you that yet is the most powerful word.
Right.
So it's going to happen. I just accepted my job offer, remember, last week. So that's exciting to get started, but it was a long time coming. I haven't been on unemployment, but I've been right there with you applying for things and know how the market is right now. So it's going to happen. It's going to take a little bit of time, and you want to find the right thing too,
Of course.
because you and I both have such interesting circumstances, but the remote jobs are out there for the people who are looking for them. So, and then unemployment. Yeah. It's just, if you're going through it, we feel for you.
We do. You are worthy.
Yes.
You are wonderful. Don't doubt yourself. It's easy for me to say that, but as you work through it, you're amazing. I think one of the things that hit me really hard in those first few weeks of unemployment is I have a lot of certifications in medical imaging, nuclear medicine, CT, X-ray. And while those first few weeks were happening, I had to renew one of my licenses. And I got a card in the mail, and it had every single one of my initials behind it. I have a master's in healthcare administration, so that was on there as well. And I was like, I sent a picture. I think I sent a picture of it to you, didn't I?
Yeah,
and
I
was
so.
like, yeah, I feel really low right now, but look at everything on this card that I've accomplished. And so if you're currently unemployed, if you've been laid off, if you're feeling like this is the worst, yeah, it is. It feels like the worst, but also you're amazing. And don't forget that. And don't forget what you've gone through and where you've gotten in the process and where you're going to go, because this isn't it, right? We're going places.
Yeah. So many beautiful things can come from that experience, that process. There's so many things that you can do with that time, whether it be like Annie's experience with her health, because Annie is someone who has always prioritized working out and things like that, but there was a different level of self-care that she needed to work on. I am someone who always likes to read my self-help books and things like that, but when I have had moments of not being employed, one of the things that I have done is watched YouTube videos on things that I wanted to learn about. Or if I had a little bit of extra income at the time, I've taken courses. And that's one of the ways that I have a lot of the knowledge that I have about business. And that's actually one of the ways that I started my business.
Well, that wraps up our first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
So we hope that you've loved it so far. We will start releasing. It should be every week. There may be things that come up that we have to skip a week here and there, but we hope you're hanging around, and we've got lots of entertaining, fun stories, facts, all the things to help you command the chaos. Stay connected with us, and we look so forward to having you part of the Chaos Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right, Chaos Crew, that's a wrap for today. If you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow commanders.
Don't forget, we're all in this together. Join the conversation in our Chaos Commanders community on Instagram and Facebook, where we keep it real, raw, and ridiculously fun.
Remember, our fears establish the limits of our lives, so go push past them.
And always leave others better than you found them.